It's for my brother Greg, the Crusader Chariot, dude. You can get Cindy Bear, dude. Latest and greatest energy in the brain. Imagine hard to find a media story about the brain that doesn't refer to the latest technology for images of the activity of the brain. Most often used in functional magnetic reasoning and imaging. The dust, dude. This is a powerful tool for imaging, imagining the ongoing brain activity in humans as well as animals. The structural MRI is still images of the brain. fMRI uses magnetic fields rather than radiation to image the tissue. So as far as we know, there's no safety issue about long repeated exposures unless you have something in your body that can be magnetized. MRI depends on particularly useful property of hemoglobin, the molecule in red blood cells that carry oxygen to all tissues, including those in the brain and the spectrum. It is made to learn in biology class oxygen is bound to hemoglobin in the blood and is released from hemoglobin as blood perfuses tissues that oxygen needs for producing energy. The magnetic properties of hemoglobin changes as hemoglobin releases oxygen to tissues. Thus the fMRI system looks for changes in magnetic signals as tissues consume oxygen. Signal is called the blood oxygen level dependent signal. When neural circuits are active, blood flow increases in those areas and oxygen is stripped from hemoglobin in the blood. Thus the bold signal changes to reflect that shift in the amount of hemoglobin that has oxygen bound to it. So literally one can lie in an fMRI decide to wiggle one's thumb and watch the brain activity associated with that movement. What you're really looking for is that blood and oxygen consumptions in the brain area that control the movement, not the electrical activity of the brain. The bold signal lacks the neuronal activity for 1 to 2 seconds. And there is still controversy about the triggers. First, individual variations make it hard to draw conclusions about a particular individual's response. Doing studies with groups of people and averaging the group result produces a reliable measure, but we're not yet at the point of being able to manage one individual and draw firm conclusions. Second, even if a brain area is reliably active in some circumstances, we don't know enough about the brain to know exactly what the area does. Probably most important, brain activities are executed by coordinated signaling between a variety of areas, and fMRI may not be able to tell us the direction or signal or flow of what role an area is playing. Finally, could easily be a small correlation of neurons exert a powerful effect on a much larger circuit. The bold signal from the small number of neurons initiating the activity may not even be visible, while the larger circuit would dominate and appear to be the source of the activity. This is sort of a less selfish one. All this is not the St. Vincent's. This is for my brother, dude. Not the St. Vincent's and Jody. Not the St. Vincent's sweetheart. Sweetheart, dude. All this to say that Amber. Ouch. She just wants a bag, Deandra. She's a sweetheart. They're truly fantastic tools to begin to understand the relationship between behaviors and brain activities. As they become much more refined, they may be able to reveal individual differences that have diagnostic meaning. But our advice at the moment is to view the non-scientific meaning with a degree of caution and not be seduced by pretty pictures. Why should anybody care about this? We hope that this chapter offers some good reasons to develop a respect for the brain and the body that supports it, as well as no insights about what the drugs do. Understand drugs and their effects on our bodies gives us some very basic principles. The principles: a drug is any chemical put in the body that changes mental state or bodily function. How a drug enters the body makes a huge difference in its effect. Investigating. I got Aragon and Corbel. Aragon and Dumbledore, and inhaling and intravenous interjection are the fastest routes. That's Jude Law. If a drug is potentially lethal, then rapid administration of the drug by inhaling or injecting it is the most dangerous way to take it and can result in death. The length of time a drug affects the central nervous system varies tremendously across drugs. Some drugs are removed in only a few minutes, while others stay around for weeks. With any compound, it is crucial to know how long it affects effects will last, even those effects you do not notice. The effects of drugs can change with time as our bodies adapt to the drug. This is called tolerance. As a result, when the drug is stopped, these changes cause bodies to work abnormally once the drug is no longer present. This is called withdrawal. The term drug means one thing to I remember Christine McVie got a hold on it to get elected. Another thing to high school students, yet another to physicians. A drug is any substance that changes mental state or bodily function. This can mean megadoses of vitamins, herbal medications from health food stores, birth control pills, over-the-counter cold remedies, aspirin, or beer. Psychoactive drugs are those that affect the brain. People use psychoactive drugs for a number of sources, including food or beverages, like coffees, produce doctors to treat illnesses like the brain, like epilepsy, and form a variety of sources from the grocery store to the corner for recreational purposes. There are thousands of compounds that fit the simple definition of drugs. This is to make all the list of drugs you ever taken, and probably number at least 20, even for those readers who don't take drugs. How drugs work. Drugs work by attaching to a particular molecule or receptor. Many different molecules can be receptors for drugs. Proteins on the surface of a cell normally respond to hormones circulating in the blood, enzymes that control the flow of energy in a cell, even structures like the microscopic tubes. Microtubules that give its shape can all be They can occur anywhere in the body, brain, heart, bone, skin. The drug can affect any bodily function if it can bind to some element of the cell that influences the function. When a drug binds to its receptors and activates, the drug is called an agonist. This means that the drug has an effect. Some drugs attach to a receptor and do not activate it, but keep other molecules from getting to the receptor. Often I have an alibi, dude. The butterfly apocalypse completely takes the threat of sex, dude. Often the molecule that normally would be practically the opposite. These drugs are antagonists. They act by preventing normal process. The whole thing is just a cock tease. Many of the psychoactive drugs that we've discussed in this book were lame, crying a lady, dude. Normal lady, dude. That was a cute one, dude. You put on the toxin used in poison darts provide a vivid example. One active. I'm making fun of. God, I'm done. Wherever I get on this, I'm just go for Mia Sanders, dude. God damn it. Acetylcholine is necessary to transmit from brain to muscle. The information that permits. I'm not very flavorful. Then I called it out, dude. And Chariot blocks the action of the acid and what, dude? Muscles are predators and the darts dies for bros. For breed. I think I went for Angie, dude. I think this one is good for me, dude. And driving drugs into other drugs in the circulation. Almost as quickly as an injection. Anyone who smokes tobacco takes advantage of this character as they deliver nicotine to the brain. The drug simply has to dissolve through the air sacs of the lungs and into the capillaries. The surface area of the lungs is very large, and fat-soluble drugs like nicotine can quickly move across a large surface. In addition, the blood supply of the lungs goes directly to the heart and not to the other tissues. Therefore, smoking delivers drugs to the tissues very quickly. However, only certain drugs enter the body efficiently this way. They can be very fat-soluble, and they must form a vapor or gas when they are heated. Several drugs, including cocaine and methamphetamine, usually form vapors if they are uncharged form, which occurs when they're crystallized form and basic acid solution. In this case, the nitrogen that is present in each molecule is uncharged. There is no positive charge from the hydrogen ion. These colloids allow drugs to cross into the circulation very quickly. Drug users call this method of delivering freebasing. Cigarette manufacturers create the same effect by making tobacco leaves, like alkaline basic. The most common way that people get drugs in their system is by swallowing them. Drugs that enter this way must pass through the walls of the stomach or intestine, and then enter the capillaries. A large part of any drug that is never swallowed by the rest of the body because it is removed by the liver and destroyed. The liver is placed cleverly to do this job. All the blood vessels that take nutrients from an intestine to the body must go through the liver first, where toxic substances can be removed. This protects the body from toxic substances in food. Swallowing may be the easiest way to deliver drugs, but it is the slowest way to deliver a drug to the body. This is why your headache is not gone after minutes if you take an ibuprofen tablet.